And in the aftermath of the floods, some state leaders are now defending the National Weather Service amid questions over the agency's forecast timing, urgency, and communication.
And KXAN investigator Josh Hinkle has been digging into this concern, and he's joining us live in the studio now. What have you learned?
Yes, we started looking at the Trump administration making cuts to the federal workforce this year, and those reductions extended to the National Weather Service. Critics have suggested that could impact forecasting ahead of the deadly floods here in Central Texas. We first reported 6 vacancies in the Weather Service's Austin, San Antonio office, including some meteorologists. The agency has not answered our specific questions about staffing, but has shared a detailed timeline of its notifications leading up to the flood in Kerr County, where the majority of people died. That included issuing a flood watch there on Thursday afternoon at 1:18 and a flash flood warning for a portion of the county nearly 12 hours later at 1:14 Friday morning. That was still a few hours before the Guadalupe River in Kerr County had risen over 30 feet by 4 a.m. Officials have said that night the local weather service office actually had additional staff, and even the Weather Service Employees Organization, the staff union, which has been critical of federal cuts and their potential impact, said the local office had adequate staffing that night, but that broadly the cuts could build to future problems.
Roughly speaking, we have 600 individuals that left between the beginning of this administration and April 30th. That has a dramatic impact to staffing requirements across the country, which has left many forecast offices critically understaffed. There are places across the country that are indeed very understaffed. And again, if the situation was reversed and we had one of these very severe flooding impacts in several other cities, it'd be really, really dark.
During a press event in Kerr County today, Texas Senator Ted Cruz said bringing up these cuts now is partisan finger-pointing and that they had no impact on forecasting this flood. He added that after rescue and recovery, there should be a review of the Weather Service response to help answer questions and improve the system for future disasters.
I think it is reasonable over time to engage in a retrospective and say at every level what could have been done better, because all of us would want to prevent this horrific loss of life. But I think just immediately trying to use it for either side to attack their political opponents, I think that's cynical and not the right approach, particularly at a time when we're dealing with a crisis.
We also asked the White House about the Weather Service warnings, and it said the agency's operations were, quote, successful, adding the NWS leveraged advanced tools like the Amber Alert software to send critical flood warnings directly to wireless devices, ensuring widespread awareness. While we mourn the tragic lives lost in this disaster, the NWS's early and frequent warnings saved countless others. But critics have also questioned the effectiveness of those specific warnings in rural and remote areas of Central Texas. Representing the administration over the weekend, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited the area along the Guadalupe River, calling the amount of rain in the flooding event unprecedented and broadly referencing the administration's goal to fix aging technology within the NWS.
Okay, Josh, and we know Secretary Noem actually discussed with Governor Greg Abbott those Weather Service alerts over the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. The next day, the governor told us state lawmakers would soon be addressing the response to weather events like this in a special session, which starts 2 weeks from today. And speaking of technology, it could be a key part of that conversation at the Capitol as my colleague Matt Grant explores the legislative push to improve the state's flood warning system tonight on KXAN News at 10.
All right, Josh Hinkle, thank you so much. Online right now, you can look for Josh's story in the investigative section of KXAN.com. And that's where we speak with one weather expert who agrees with some of those leaders, saying this storm was unprecedented and would have been difficult to forecast much differently.